Welcome to this episode of Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and today I got some good friends and colleagues with me. This is going to be a great conversation. I want to welcome Jason, Reid, and Albie. Alderman. Did I say Alderman? Is it Alderman?
Anderman. It works.
Anderman, Alderman, Albie A. Welcome, Albie A, to the Market Shares. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys. So I met Jason and Albie. Gosh, what is it now?
Not a year.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago, and we were looking at growing New American Funding, and we had just kind of launched our P&L model, and they were looking at making a move, and we talked about having them start a brand and come under our platform and one of our EMD or partnership branches. And so they had up a group with a few others, Vanya and Michelle, called TruView Lending, and they're based out of Arizona. And you guys have a pretty unique model. I've appreciated just your professionalism and the way that you guys go about your business since the day that we met. And I've been really impressed with all the things that you do. So I'm hoping in this episode to share with people that, look, there's more than one way to go about, building a successful mortgage practice. And you guys have a unique niche in how you do things. And I think that there's some things that people can learn from this. So welcome, as I said.
Oh, thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
The feeling's the same on both sides. The transition over to New American, we'd been at the same company for 14 years, and to say that we were nervous about moving is an understatement. And your team and New American itself is been amazing. There's so many benefits with working with a big company, but there's also a lot of things that can be super scary about working at a larger company like this. And it's definitely been like your team makes it and made it like feel very small while giving us a lot of huge benefit behind being a very large company. So we've been very lucky. We definitely are glad we're here. And
a lot of times, you know that when you go somewhere, the grass isn't greener and you're waiting for that thing. And it never happened. Like all the stuff, we're like, well, maybe this won't be as good. Like, okay, well, that's better. Well, I'm sure there's gonna be a problem here. Okay, no, that's even better. And so we just kept going through, and we're like, what was the problem? Like, we knew there was something, but it never came. And it's just, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's been a good.
Well, I love hearing that. We try to represent things as they are, and this was kind of a new model for us with you guys. And so we learned a lot of it together, and I think that as long as you have people that are open, honest, hardworking, which I think we have on both sides of the fence, we can have a great partnership as we have right now. So cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about, before we get too much into your business model, maybe just a little bit of background on you guys here on Market Shares. We like to get to know our guests just a little bit. So maybe Jason, we'll start with you. How long you've been in the mortgage business? How did you get in the mortgage business? And kind of what part of the day-to-day is kind of your specialty as far as sales, operations, technology? What's your kind of favorite lane to be in?
My favorite. Okay, good. The favorite lane. All right. So I born and raised in a city called Park City, Utah, which is predominantly a ski town. And my dad actually is in the real estate field, a realtor himself. He and my mom started a real estate company back when the town was defunct, and they were doing basically what we now term short sales for a small bank or small local bank that was, the whole town was going down. So I've been around real estate my whole life, grew up selling it for him, and then through time just found that I wanted more to be in the mortgage space. So on and off, been in it my whole life, but intensely and focused. It's probably coming on 15, 20 years. One of the things that I did get motivated by was it's an incredible small community of people, but it's definitely seasonal, at least at the time. A lot has changed since I've left. And it was very like market specific. So for me, figuring out a way to spread my risk out was ideal. So that's like kind of the nice part about the way Albie and my model work is we're working across the country. So what that means is in like say Park City, it may be in January or February where it's already slow in mortgage space. It's extremely slow because there's snow. You know, you're looking at 2 feet of snow on the roof, and nobody wants to buy a home when there's snow on the roof, and I don't know what's going on with that backyard. So it's nice to be in places like Florida and Arizona and California where you can, you know, maybe have some good, you know, winter seasons there, but then maybe it gets hot here in Arizona. And now it's really nice time to buy in Park City. So we kind of spread the risk that way as like a balanced portfolio. So that's why I went in mortgage space. Around the office, I like the way you asked it because there's what I do and then there's what I love to do. So in my heart, sales marketing has always been like the centerpiece of it, either being involved in a transaction and negotiating and being part of that and working with clients, or pushing them into the space. But I have found over the years, and we can talk about it in this podcast, is technology's become this centerpiece. So I've actually started to fall in love with kind of what we call business ops, business operations. So I'd say my day is focused on sales and marketing and coaching, but at some point in the day or some point of our activity, we have to bring it all back to business operations. We can talk about that later. So
yeah, definitely.
So
Albie, what about you?
For me, I grew up in Orange County, California, went out to the Midwest and went to school out in Miami of Ohio, got a degree that was pretty useless. It was Bachelor of Science of Health Appraisal and Enhancement. And so I was trying to use my degree at an athletic club.
What is that?
I don't want you to praise me right now.
And these guys were coming in making a lot of money, and they were loan officers. And so I asked them, you know, what are you guys doing and how do I get into that? And so this guy taught me how to do refinances. And I thought that's what the whole thing was about. It was back in 91 when the rates were, 13, 14%. We were refining into a single digit, 9.9, 9.5, whatever. And they were super excited. And that kind of phased out after a couple of years. And they said, well, now you got to go meet realtors. I'm like, how would you meet realtors? I'm doing mortgages. What does that have to do with it? I never had the connection of like new houses, finance. And so, started figuring that over the years, became a realtor in early 2000s. And then, did that for a while. And the whole market kind of changed, and tried to do some stuff with investors who made some money. And then I lost everything and had to start over. And so when I got back into the mortgage business, like 2012, doing refinance, and then this guy, Steve Parks, called me up and said, hey, I got this program, Teach Next Door. You want to do the stuff in Arizona? And I thought it was just like a normal, hey, we got FHA leads. We'll go ahead and, sell them to you. So I didn't think nothing of it. But as we started putting the pieces together, there was something there. And that was back around 2012, and just been growing this thing ever since. And so that's what this model we have. When I was a realtor, I was selling REO properties for Freedom Mortgage and nationwide. And I would call up realtors and say, hey, I've got a listing for you. You just need to, get rid of it, sell it to one of your buddies, whatever. You're going to make the 6%, but give me a 1% referral fee. And they said, hey, that's great. I wouldn't have the money. And so that model that I used nationwide, when I was talking to Steve and he had this Teach Next Door program, I said, hey, we can get the realtors to give the money to the clients that they would normally give me as a referral fee. And he's like, I just don't know if that'd be a good model. And I said, well, I know they'll do it. I know the realtors would be excited to have business they wouldn't have had. Let's just give it and we'll use it for the client, for them to be able to, help them buy a home. And these teachers and nurses really needed that extra money. It was really useful for them. And so it started to resonate because it was a grant that they could use in their language on the real estate side, because the realtor was granting them money. And so that made sense in their world. And so that's where it kind of started to take off. And so we've been putting this program together for Jason and I for the last 7 years?
7 years.
Yeah.
5 or 6. Yeah. And you were working out for 5 to 7 before that. So
yeah.
It's been a passion project for sure.
Yeah. We just taught a class this morning to new loan officers, and we started out about 3 applications a month. And, then it started getting up to 100 a month. And now we, do 100, 150 a day applications, the people that want to, buy a home through this program, for nurses and teachers and city government employees, pretty much anyone who's serving the community, as their job. This is a program for them to help them buy a home. And so that's what we kind of created.
Right on. And so as far as the business, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the model day to day, what are you doing with the team? What are you passionate about as far as
so the thing I like to do is kind of the strategic thinking, like where's the new opportunity? And, the model that that I kind of liked, the whole reason I became a realtor is because when I was a loan officer, I would try and get the realtor's business. And I would, sit their open house and deliver flyers for them and, do everything I could. And then when they got somebody to, ready to go shopping, they'd forget about me and give it to another loan officer. And so I kind of got frustrated at that. And I said, well, maybe I'll be the realtor since I'm doing all the work. And then I would try and get the client before, the realtor would get it. And then that's kind of how this model works is we get the client before the realtor, then we get them pre-qualified and give them back to the realtor ready to go shopping. And so, there's a lot of opportunities like that out there where you're competing for the top of the funnel to try and find those opportunities. And that's what I like to, jump into and try and think outside of the box and figure out. And then, as the market's changing, we got involved with the 2-1 buy down when that was there. And this new thing with NAF cash, we really see a big opportunity there. And so any angle that we can kind of figure out to help, folks get into homes and compete and to actually, win the bid, whatever we can do to make that better for them. That's kind of where I like to, spend my time, brain power, and figuring that stuff out.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Teacher Next Door and the structure of that business model, if you don't mind. So if I understand it correctly, at this point, the majority of the business that you guys have coming in is coming directly from the Teacher Next Door website, right? So there's realtors that are trained and in the Teacher Next Door program. They're referring people into the system, and then really just the organic search and work that's done from the website perspective that's bringing leads in. Is that correct, or clarify me on how that works?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what's happening. Teacher Next Door was a program that HUD had before it changed to Good Neighbor Next Door. So teachers knew there was a program out there for them to help them buy a home. And, a lot of times because of their income level and their debt obligation with student loans, it's a little tricky for them to get financing. And so there was a need there for teachers to be able to own a home. And so, as Teacher Next Door started marketing to that, and then they started creating a lot of SEO, and it's really blown up where it's got a pretty big reach. I think they're number one search in over 300 categories. And so there's a lot of folks that kind of know about the program and have heard of it, but then when they search online, they find this. And then it's all the folks that are helping them buy a home, they're giving back to them when they're buying a home. So they do a lot to serve the community with their kiddos they teach and what they do for their job, kind of a lot of sacrifices. So when they go to buy a home, this is our chance to say, thank you for what you do. We're going to help you, and not just, do what we do, but also give you monetarily a way to help you get into a home as an advantage. So, but yeah, most of the leads are, pretty much from the website, folks, online doing the beginning of their search. How do I buy a home? What's grants are available? What programs are available for a teacher or for a nurse or for a public servant? And so that's usually how they find the website.
Got it. Well, I don't want to go too deep into the particulars of the program, and people can go to the website. We can put that up here on the screen if people want to learn more about it. I think the reality is that, I want to talk more about kind of then how you run your business, right? I mean, so the leads come in. Obviously, I think you had the foresight of working with the real estate agents who are partnered. So every one of these is partnered with a real estate agent who agrees to participate, right? They're giving some amount of their commission into the transaction. You're also giving some discounts and some benefits. There's some other financial benefits that the buyer is going to get from other third parties as well. So I think it's really cool that you have a program that is giving help to, as you said, Albie, those that are giving back to the community just simply by what they get up and do for a living, helping kids with education, nurses, helping patients and other public servants, and the like, that are really committed to serving our communities. So I love that part of it. Let's transition a little bit to the business side of it, Jason, kind of what you were talking about. So when now that this has really grown to where there's a lot of leads coming in every single day. And so that takes a unique type of branch structure in order to have loan officers that are, capable and able to really do a great job with clients and advise them and give them great advice, but also who are, okay with being in a branch all day, taking leads, right? Almost like a call center environment. But I know that, you really want to have people that are educated enough with the loan process to really help someone come up with creative ideas. Because like you said, Albie, these are not the easiest loans all the time. So you got to be a great loan officer, but also willing to work in that environment. So maybe just speak to that a little bit. What's the perfect loan officer for you guys? What are you looking for when you're hiring loan officers? And, why do people stick around in this sort of a environment?
Yeah. So to give a little background to it too, is when I was at our other company, I was fortunate to grow up and be a branch manager for that company. And the model was a direct model, but the where the opportunity was coming from was Lending Tree and Lead Point, and we aggregated some of our own data. So by nature, we were kind of running this hybrid shop where we would get the leads, and then we would convert the business, and then we would go after the referrals. So in the lead role, that we would call that like the life of the lead, or what additional source of business are you getting off? And that we really survived off that second loan, because the first lead is so expensive, especially when you're competing against big shops. So it really forced us to keep a retail state of mind because we had to service so well that we could get a referral off at a minimum. And then we also started growing the realtor network. But along the way, our company lined the two of us up because we had a perfect thing where we didn't have to buy the lead anymore. We could work on a very branded, very exclusive lead opportunity and really hedgehog. So the first thing is, anybody out there that's thinking about going this, is find a way to hedgehog what you're doing so you can focus on doing the same thing over and over again. The fact that we know teachers and nurses inside and out, their incomes and the struggles and all that, really gives us a advantage when it comes to the salesperson as well as the marketing. So we can really, really brand the stuff and speak directly to them, and they know that we know them because we spend a lot of time with them. But the other piece is just the data management and data flow. And you said, as it's coming in the door, what do you do with it? One of the coolest things was our first year, I had many projects I was supposed to work on with our company, but Albie was one of the primaries, and he had this program. And in our first year together, we doubled or tripled.
Yeah, went from 63 to 128
million. And we did that not with any additional leads coming in. It was 100% optimization through business operations. So it was getting more out of what you already got. And so when you're asking like a generalized setup for, I believe, not just what we do with leads, but we've also done the same thing with retail teams, is, whether it's coming in on a napkin, a spreadsheet, a text message, or from a website, what are you doing for the client journey way, way before contract? Like, what are you doing to take care of them? How, and it used to be 10 years ago that at the center, we could just blast call and you'd beat everybody because you worked harder. And that's not the case anymore. You've got to communicate and have a plan from napkin to funded for your client, and then have systems to back you up. That's, I think, the biggest key. What we do here all day is what do you do? And this is what we talk with our realtors we work with, or even the retail folks we've worked with, is what are you doing once? Yeah, there's some places like, well, I send it to a call center. Okay, great. They get a contact on the phone. And then after that, how are you taking care of them? So how are you taking from contact to getting the documents? How are you talking from documents to pre-approval to out with the realtor, out realtor contract, all those touch points? What are you doing there? And that's one of our big secrets there, I guess, is setting up an end-to-end operation, taking care of the client journey.
And document it all the way through.
Yeah. And you guys have, I always referred like to the loan officer as they're like the central part of the process, because I'm thinking like retail, but you have other people too, though, right? I mean, there's, because of the nature of the structure of leads coming in, you have customer service reps, and maybe talk through, if you could, who are the people that are interacting with a lead, from beginning to end.
Yeah. So in the beginning, we set it up where we tried to duplicate the loan officer, but then we started figuring out that we couldn't scale it up if we did it that way. So then we started building more of like an assembly line. And so in the beginning, the loan officers would get the client, the application up front. But as they started to get bogged down in too much volume, then we created the call center person in the beginning who would initially talk to the client, then schedule the appointment for the loan officer. And then the loan officer, once they built rapport, figured out timelines, goal strategy, and got the pre-qualification done, they would hand it off to an account manager who would then give it to the realtor and talk with the realtor, updating them weekly, what's going on, how's shopping going, are they getting in contract? And then so we kind of created these different pieces of, one loan officer would normally do it from start to finish. And we broke that up into, 4 different people. The other thing is, the loan officers, it probably takes you, 5 years in the business to be able to figure out how to put a loan together and structure it and what's the best way and what are the problems I'm going to see. And so a lot of our folks are newer loan officers, brand new in the industry, just got their license. And so how could they get to a volume, of like 1 to 2 million in production monthly? We have this pre-qual specialist that would know all the programs and know all the different qualifications and what little, angles are there available for to stretch the income or to do this or that. And so the loan officer didn't have to have all that knowledge. They get to learn it along the way. But the pre-qual specialist puts those pieces together, gives it back to the loan officer and says, here's why the FHA is better. Here's why this conventional is better. Here's why we're going to use this down payment assist, whatever it is. And then the loan officer would take it and talk to the client about it and help them understand, yeah, this is the best way to go. Let's get out shopping. And so all those pieces put together, that's actually, out of Jason's mind and Vanya's, who's not on the call, but she's the one who documents it all, but how all those pieces fit together and, get the client experience where it's nice and smooth, even though there's a lot of hands that touch it all the way through.
Right. So that's brilliant. So what I'm hearing you say is there is kind of like that upfront person, like customer service person, who's then scheduling the appointment for the loan officer. Loan officer is taking the application. You have a pre-approval specialist who's kind of helping to make sure that the right product program is selected. They know all the guidelines. They know all the nuances on how to get a difficult loan structured. Loan officers then presenting those options to the borrower. They're pre-approved. And then you have an account manager who's working with the real estate agent to kind of keep that lead incubated until they get into contract, make sure the follow-up's being done on a regular basis, because the lead flow is so much that you kind of need the loan officer working on the next loans coming in. Is that
nice? Yep, that's exactly it. And with that framework, then we can answer your question about like what kind of salesperson we're looking for in this model. And we've been really lucky. Like, I don't know if it's still like this, but it seemed like the average age of an LO out there, I don't know what it was for a while, like 55 or something.
Yeah, 54 or something like that.
Yeah. So in our shop, it's more like 28 to 34 years old. And I think that it gives a good starting point for new LOs because they're going to get a lot of touches on the ball per se. And so we're looking for somebody that's coachable, that has a sales heart, and not so much their license. We can teach the how. We just want to know your why. So we want to know why you're into this. Like what's motivating you to do it? Why is communication, something that you strive for? Why in the loan industry? Why in the real estate industry? And if we can find somebody that's passionate about those, then then they can start to endure all the stuff that everybody in this podcast knows is like the trials and tribulations of being successful in our industry, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. Like you'll go through those if you're passionate about it. So that's who we're still looking at, as salesperson at heart that's passionate about the real estate industry. And along the way, I think a lot of them pick up passions for the teachers and nurses that they work for because they hear their stories, and so they get really passionate about it. But that's at the centerpiece. The exciting part is we look at it as a platform, a launching pad. So as you're getting, as like whether it's an athlete or a salesperson, I kind of look at them very similar. So if they're in here and they're getting lots of touches on the ball, they're inevitably going to want to grow. And so what do you want to grow into? So there's some folks that come in. We have some that have been with us for 5 years, 6 years, and they're very comfortable with like some of the comforts that come from our model. The Monday through Friday that you don't have to constantly be finding that new realtor to send you business, but they love doing purchase loans and they can. And so we love that. We love that group a lot. It also provides a platform for those that want to start to step into the referral model, because we do have a lot of clients, and then there's a lot of realtors we're working with, and it's their opportunity to step in and start to learn how there's an art to that in of itself. So the salesperson we're looking for is, do you have a sales heart, and are you coachable and wanting to go, serve others? That's who we're looking for.
Yeah, I had the great opportunity to come down and visit you guys and speak at your sales rally. And, you think of kind of a call center type loan officer, but that's not what I found with your loan officers. I mean, they asked great questions and they wanted to be better at, building rapport and getting referrals and really growing, and so it was exciting to hear. It doesn't surprise me to say it's kind of like a launch pad for them because I could just tell that you had a lot of loan officers that really are passionate salespeople that do want to grow. And so I think that it could be a good incubation ground for that. And the nice thing is that, that opportunity exists here too, right? You can certainly, go be a loan officer that does your own, hunting, if you will, if that's ultimately what you want to do. So, yeah, you definitely have a great group of salespeople there, at least the ones that I had the fortune of speaking to and meeting when I was down there. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you came in like a rock star. I think we had like an hour slated or something, and they like cornered you. They were like, they wouldn't let you out of the room. They had so many good questions. I think you were here for like I want to say 3 hours answering questions. I'm not.
Yeah.
There was a point that I'm like, you guys, dude, the guy's gonna drink some water or something.
I think I had a plane to catch or something, right?
Yeah, you're like, I'm not gonna say goodbye. And luckily we're near the airport, so you like bolted out of here.
Well, I love answering questions. That's the most challenging thing about a podcast, right? I want the audience to be able to ask questions. But anyways, all right, so let's transition. I don't want to go too long here because we could probably talk all day about your guys' unique business model. But let's talk about the technology piece because one thing that was unique about you guys, you joined New American, which I think we have some pretty cool technology here, and you're like, well, one thing that's important to us is we have our own CRM system, we have our own dialer. Like you guys have, for a branch of a mortgage company, you're very mature in how it is your technology is ran. I know Vanya, who's not on this call, is a lot of the brains behind that, but I know you're all passionate about using that. So maybe speak a little bit to how you guys leverage technology, to run your business and stay on top of all these leads.
Well, first we want to thank you for not inviting Vanya, because then we get to say whatever we want and it sounds like it's right and it's smart, and she's not here to correct us on it. So
well, we're going to put Vanya on her own episode.
Yeah. So you guys can do the kind where you view and then she edits and audits everything we said and how it was wrong. So,
it wouldn't have been fair to have her with you guys. She needs her own episode.
So I would say the thing that she and another guy, Chris, who've really taught us a lot, both Albie and I in different ways. And that's what we refer to as a business operations. In the lending world, we call it, we call operations. And so it's automatically thought of. But now we kind of make sure we separate that. And to me, operations has always been, underwriting, closing, funding, processing, blah, blah. But we've had to become very distinct that we have two departments. That we have a loan operations team, and then you have a business operations team. And she's really taught that the business systems really have to serve the business. So the net of it too, Tony, is I was just going to make like global statement on it, is when we're saying we're protecting the technology, what we're really after is protecting the data map that we've spent, like, that's where all our sweat equity's gone into. And that's what Albie's talked about, is like the documentation where she'll come into something that Albie's doing or I'm doing or Michelle's doing or an LO's doing, and observe and discuss and document, and then put like workflows into a system to it. So it doesn't really matter. We're kind of agnostic to what system it goes into. Obviously, we like ones that cost less, but it's actually the map that's in there. And so that's the part that's like, it's kind of the skeleton is, whether you're using Salesforce, there's great systems out there, but it's what map you're customizing and building in there, and how much attention are you putting into that map, into those client touch points. That would be like globally, like what we've done there.
The map is painful to build.
Oh my gosh.
But if you don't do it, Jason and I will paint ourselves into a corner instantly, where she starts asking questions. Now, wait a minute. Have you thought about this? And what about this? And like, oh, well, okay. Scrap that whole thing. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. She whiteboards it before we're like, no, just go build buttons and do this. And it's like, no, let's whiteboard thoughtful processes that, and the cause and effect to the whole team, to the whole system, and then carefully doing that one step at a time. But it, like, in the one part you did say too, is like, yeah, we're just a branch. So, how do you do that when you're small? You just start with, you got to vote on the most impactful points of contact and start there. and then table and save all your other ideas and come to them as you go. But it's definitely been a work of love. The system that's captured our workflows we've been working on since 2014. Before that, I was a duct taper. Like, if you can imagine digital systems, I was just out there buying them and then like duct taping, like plumbing in a house when Vanya and Chris walked in to see, they're like, oh my gosh, look at this mess he's made. And it was good enough to get our volume up. It was what we're a bootstrap kind of industry. We've always had to, this better than anybody, is like, we just figure out as we go, we have to rev out fast. And so we did it that way, but it was nice to kind of have a different path and start cleaning and have a strong foundation there. So an architect. So that's basically what she is in business operations. She's a data architect. You want somebody that's going to lead you. And we managed to trick her many years ago to come on board with us. So,
but look, it's clear that you obviously wouldn't have got to where you were before, having the business operations stuff dialed in if you didn't have the vision, for what the business needed to grow and scale. But good on you for having the wherewithal to recognize that that sort of structure is going to be imperative to really scale it long term. And a lot of us that are kind of like the sales side of the business, we're great at duct taping together crazy ideas and making it work. We don't always recognize the value of someone then coming behind and like, okay, let's remove this and replace that with like a permanent fixture that's not going to leak.
That more than just you can turn on and off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but not everyone has that vision, has the ability to see both sides of it. You're either just growing and you're on this side and you're ignoring that part of the business. But I think you guys are pretty well-rounded in seeing the value in that. And obviously Chris and Vanya probably helped you see the value in that, but not everyone does. So that's awesome. I love that when I chat with you guys about whether it's going over P&Ls or going over production numbers or whatever the case may be, man, you always have your numbers down really well. I mean, you guys know your numbers and it's really impressive. So I want to end on two things. One, I want to share the story really quick about, and I think this just speaks to the power of social media. So you had a gal a couple months ago that was a nurse, and she was on, I believe it was TikTok, and just shared a video showing your website, the nurses, Nurse Next Door, kind of what the program is, how it works. You just basically walk through your website, and then at the end said, oh yeah, and by the way, they also have, this for teachers. And it really, I think, probably showed you, but also showed me, and should show all of us in the mortgage industry just how much an influencer like that could have an impact on your business. So tell us what happened. She puts out this video. She didn't have a ton of she has thousands of followers, right? But not like millions of followers, but it was, thousands of followers, and it was shared like 50,000 times or something. And then what happened to your business as a result of that?
I think that day we had 1,200 new applications. And then the day after that, we had another 800. And previously the record was, maybe 300 or something like that. So it was
4 times your record just from that. Yeah.
And it didn't slow down. It was like, it had a wave. I mean, you could feel it slowly taper, but it was.
Well, I think from that one, then people started watching the other influencer that said something about it was maybe 2 years ago, but it wasn't the big spike. It was a little spike, but somehow it connected the two, and then it like went even more viral. So then that person who had a lot of followers, theirs kind of connected and somehow, but it was the gal's name was Baby RN, I think, was the gal on TikTok. And yeah, she was just talking about the program. She actually hadn't made application yet when she went over it and was talking about it. And then since then she has, and I think her sister or her cousin or somebody, we helped her get a home. So
that's very cool.
Wow. We had to track her down just to thank her. We did not, we were like, we just woke up and we're like, whoa, the first start, because we walk, like you said, we have to watch numbers. And we looked at
all the loan officers are capped. So they like 20 applications a day is kind of the ceiling for them. And all of a sudden by like 10 o'clock in the morning, everyone's hit the ceiling. And so our sales manager is like, okay, well, let me give them an extra 5 each. And like, okay, let me give them each to 20 each. Okay, let me give them an extra 50. And so it just kept going. Brrr, and so the system was getting stuck because we've never had that much, applications come in a day. So tracking all that stuff was, a strange day.
Well, it's a good problem to have, I think, right? But it just goes to show, you just don't know where that, that spark can come from. And just to have a little video like that, I'm sure she had no intention on driving 1,200 applications to the nurse next door, but who knew?
Yeah. And that's why it's like, take care of everybody. You know what I mean? Just serve. And, you can only, you got to allocate intelligently because you've got to also make a living. You got to have our return on your investment. But that's what we always talk about here is take care of people. You have no clue where goodness can come from, and tons of gratitude in your business. Just be wildly grateful for every leg up you get. And that's why we reached out to her just to try to thank her because we couldn't even find her, figure out who the heck had done this for us. And I mean, I wish that for everybody.
Well, how did you realize that it was a TikTok video that was driving all this business?
Again, the average age here, Tony, is so here's me and Albie like, hitting our phone like, what happened?
Maybe I can see it on the computer.
And a couple of younger folks are just like blink, 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 and they're like, oh, it's coming from here. I'm like, I have no idea how you found that person, but that makes a lot of sense. And pretty soon the whole floor had figured out the two TikTok connections. So
that's very cool. All right. So to wrap it up, you guys, what's next for you guys? Like I know you've innovated in so many spaces in your business. What do you think is kind of the next area that you guys want to, grow and develop in your practice?
I mean, this thing, teacher next door, nurse next door, the unserved piece of it is the public servant, because that's all city and government employees. And we're just kind of scratching the surface with like postal workers and Department of Defense and, different contractors. It's pretty amazing, all the folks that are coming through that government entity. But we're at a place where the applications keep coming in and we don't have enough loan officers to, meet with all these folks. So we're hiring, each month we're trying to add more people to it. And so if we can get to 40, 50 loan officers, then we'll catch up with the capacity that we have right now with, a tenth of that.
Yeah.
So
I'd say, making sure now that we're here and that we, again, piggybacking off of NAF's size and like the background that it has both in retail and inside sales with Isla and Ola, we've been blessed with partnering with Reid, by the way, who's going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah, Wednesday. I know. I heard.
Yeah. So it's so cool, but he's like been so great in sharing on his wisdom and his team. And so that really helped us get a lift on the recruiting side when we needed it badly. So on the just getting loan officers here to keep up with the flow that's coming in and take care of that. And then I'd say secondarily is honestly the NAF cash thing is super interesting to both of us. We actually do get there's some premium stuff that comes in that could use that service. And I think it's opened up the door for us to be really segmented in our data and our communication. And so I think we're gonna put a lot of emphasis in there. So pushing our realtor network over to get certified, and then really pushing that premier client, talking to them specifically. We're doing a lot of webinars right now too. So we've stepped in that space. We've gotten better. We're having anywhere from like 30 to 80 people show up to our webinars. And so we're going to keep pushing on that front. A lot of on the digital clients, new clients talking. So those fronts, webinars and segmentation, and then opening up some of the programs we really haven't pushed on,
and then also pushing more of the seasoned loan officers towards referral, and they're starting to get traction with that, because we've always been a one-way where we just give it to the realtors, and haven't really asked for them to give it back to us. And so there's a lot of opportunity there that we really haven't gone after yet, and so that's a piece that we're helping the loan officers to see the opportunity there.
Awesome. Well, you guys, it's been a great almost year, working together. I appreciate you, trusting in me and having the confidence to move your team over. I'm excited for where you guys are going to go with your business, and it's exciting to not just watch but be a part of. And I got to say, Jason, was that a good to great? was that Hedgehog? Was that a Good to Great reference that I heard you throw out there?
It might have been. I read books and I should probably cite them. Yes, but yeah, it's probably Good to Great. Yeah, it's a Colin.
I think it was Good to Great. I think it was
okay.
Good
Yeah,
to
we're
Great.
gonna give it to that. Yes, that's right. Yes,
We're gonna give
Hedgehog
credit
for
there.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as always, guys, I love chatting with you guys about your business. Thanks for coming on to Market Shares and just sharing a little bit about your model, because it is so different. But look, we're all doing mortgages, and we can all learn from each other about your process. So hopefully those of you watching this episode were able to get, some nugget of information that might help you in your business, or maybe think differently about the way that you're going about the things that you do. Jason and Albie, thanks for being part of Market Shares. For those of you, thank you guys. For those of you watching, tell them all to like and subscribe. Okay. So
hit that button. I don't know. Is that what you do? Click the button.
Click the button, smash that like button. No, but seriously, you guys, more than anything, what I would appreciate is just letting people in the industry know about Market Shares. I think that's really how we can, spread the good word about the content that we have here. And of course, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, thank you for your time and attention. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time. Take care.
Make this.
Thank you.